Good evening. We're going to begin. I would like to welcome everyone to our annual scholarship dinner. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tony Franza, and I am the first vice president of our union. I would like to recognize my fellow officers. So if you could please just give a little wave. Second Vice President, Sabrina Decker. Secretary, Kim Wright. And our Treasurer, Teresa Roselli. Our President, Brian Bonis, unfortunately was unable to attend. He is also the varsity girls softball coach, and they are in Chester as we speak, playing their semifinal game. So fingers crossed, hopefully everything's going well for them.
Yes, they're winning.
Are they winning? What's the score?
The score is 5-1, top of the third.
Fabulous. Good job. All right. But Mr. Bonnets did leave me with something to share with everyone. Good evening. Before we begin tonight, I just want to say that I am disappointed that I cannot be here. My softball team is playing in the sectional semifinals in Chester, hoping for a big win. It's looking pretty good right now. Thank you to Tony Franza, our ETSRPA Vice President, for filling in for me and for reading my speech tonight. I would like to welcome everyone to our scholarship night. For those of you who do not know, the ETSRPA stands for the Ellenville Teachers and School-Related Professional Association. Or simply put, the union representing all the school employees responsible for helping your children navigate through these past 13 years of school. As president, I have worked hard with our staff to create an environment where all our kids can succeed. Tonight, I am particularly proud of these kids. I have taught many of them for 4 years, and watching them grow from unsure freshmen to confident and strong seniors has been absolutely awesome. I know that we are sending all of you off to accomplish amazing things. We will be waiting to hear about all that you do, and we are happy to have played our part in your future. This has always been my favorite night of the year. It reminds us teachers why we do what we do. It's always an emotional night, filled with laughter and tears. It's inspiring, and we will all always remember tonight. Let's get to why we are here tonight. This is an incredible group of young people. These students, our scholarship winners, were voted on by all the members of the ETSRPA. They will talk about their experience here at Ellenville Central School and the teacher that they have chosen to speak for them. The teachers will speak first, and then the student will follow. Let's get started. I would like to invite Rebecca Mactus-Smith.
Good evening. It gives me great pride to be here today. One of the most rewarding components of my job is getting to reward my students. Often, the only reward for hard work is the quiet satisfaction of seeing a job well done. And while this pride is meaningful, it is important that we take time to shine the spotlight on individual students. They say fortune favors the brave, and it is indeed takes a lot for students today to become successful. Having been an educator for 22 years now, I find myself extremely honored to be speaking on behalf of Annabelle Bruce. Today we are celebrating her enthusiasm, commitment, and sheer hard work. Annabelle has confronted several challenges on her way to be here, but each one has only strengthened her to make her the person she is today. Someone who sets her eyes on a goal and does not take them off of it unless it's achieved. This could not have been accomplished without the support and inspiration she has received from her family, friends, teachers, and coaches, for whom I know she has a deep respect for. From this, Annabelle has derived the strength to challenge herself and perform better at each stage in her life and the hurdles she has encountered. I met Annabelle 4 years ago when she was a student in my 8th grade English class, not realizing at the time I also taught her older brother and sister as well. Little did I know in September that I would become a regular fixture in her and her grandmother's home. Soon I learned that Annabelle was born with a condition called Naegger syndrome, Naegger syndrome is a rare condition that mainly affects the development of the face, hands, and arms. During the beginning of Annabelle's 8th grade year, she learned that she would be enduring the biggest and most complicated surgeries of her life, which included her wearing a halo for a long period of time. Accordingly, Annabelle needed a flexible tutor who could come to her home every day for at least 2 hours for the entire school year and possibly into the summer months. That tutor was me. From the moment I began to tutor Annabelle, her most important goal was to be able to graduate on time, since she was not going to be physically attending school for almost a full year. Her can-do attitude has been the driving force behind many obstacles which she oversees from start to finish. She was even on the track team for 3 years until a medical issue forced her to stop competing. Annabelle's friends have marveled at how she always knows when someone needs a helping hand and then does not bat an eye about offering help. Her quiet confidence in times of crisis frequently has a calming effect on those around her. Her moral and good humor have been proven downright infectious. As evidenced here today, her goal was accomplished. If you do not know Annabelle, let me fill you in on her incredible journey thus far. At the age of 3, the Bruce family was introduced to the My Face organization, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to changing the faces and transforming the lives of children and adults with facial differences. So far, Annabelle's had 36 surgeries and will eventually need more in the future. Through this organization, she has been able to give back to her community and help others who have encountered similar issues within their lives. She has had many conversations with children and their families, both in person and through social media. Along with her mom, Lenica, she has had the opportunity of being a spokesperson for the My Face organization. Annabelle's received the My Face Courage Award, has been part of many My Face fundraisers, and for the last 14 years has participated in the Races for Faces, where 1 year Annabelle was even the race marshal. Annabelle truly believes in supporting others who are going through the same experiences she has overcome. Her future also has a very bright beginning, with her attending the New York School of Interior Design in the fall. Furthermore, she will begin an internship this summer with a mentor designer in Manhattan. Novelist Walter Scott once remarked, "For success, attitude is equally important as ability." Annabelle has shown this to be true. It is not just showing up and accomplishing that makes her such an inspiration. It is the warmth, dedication, and energy she brings with her. I know that Annabelle is earnestly grateful for the recognition she is receiving here today for her hard work. My love and warmest congratulations to you on your achievement. Annabelle, it is an honor to be selected for the scholarship, and it speaks highly about how well you and your hard work are perceived in our school community. It is a positive contribution that deserves recognition because you absolutely deserve it. I am so very proud of you, and Annabelle, keep up the amazing work in all of your future endeavors. Thank you.
I would like to thank the ETSRPA for the tour. I would also like to thank all my teachers that have helped me to this point in my education. Ms. Matthews, I would like to thank you for helping me through the hardest year in my life. I love you. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Next, I'd like to invite up Janine Russa.
Good evening. I'm so happy to be here tonight and so honored to be asked to speak for Justin. I've had most of the students who are receiving awards tonight and have met all the students, obviously. One of the benefits of our school is that we're a little bit smaller, so we get to know all of our students, and we get to see them all the time, over and over, as they pop in and out of our rooms. So I was very, very flattered to be asked tonight to speak. So I've spent 2 years, or I got to spend 2 years with Justin as a student in 10th and 11th grade. 10th grade, we had COVID, the entire world, and we ended up online, and that was interesting. So that was usually me saying, would you please, please, please turn on your cameras, please. So we were talking about that before, because after a while, it was very, very, very lonely. And sometimes they would turn on their cameras and entertain me. And most often they would not turn on their cameras. And I was saying before, occasionally I could get people to turn on their cameras when we were first home, because I had gotten kittens. So that was a big draw. If a kitten hopped in my lap, you know, it was, oh yeah, I'll show you the kitten. You turn your cameras on. But after a while, that did not work as well. So then we were at school and the kids were home. And then we finally got the word that in January they could return. And the teachers were very, very, very excited because we were very alone. So we got some kids back, and little by little they trickled in. And I had Justin, I had several others, and they would come in, and some were still online. That was interesting. So you were talking to people in front of you, and you were talking to people on a screen, and you were talking to people through the computer. That took some work. But Justin's class and Justin himself were amazing students, and they made it so much easier, actually so much easier than some of the other classes. So I had a lot of fun. I don't know if they had as much fun as I did, but I had a lot of fun. And I got to know a little bit about them. And then finally, we got them back 11th grade, and we were all in masks. I found out that kids can still eat a lot, even when wearing masks. Granola bars. It was, yeah, they're amazing at eating right behind the masks. But I then got to know the kids more and see them more, and I'm struggling with this. Okay. So I then got to see the kids a little more, and we got to have conversations, and we got to talk about everything as we read different plays, and we talked about Death of a Salesman, but we also talked about families, and we talked about what they did in their free time. And as they know, I found out about all the things they were doing, and over and over and over I kept hearing, well, Justin's doing this, and Justin's doing this, and Justin's doing this, and this one's doing this, and this one's doing, but Justin's doing this. I was like, how is this one kid doing all this? And I decided that he really was just as absolutely amazing as he seemed. So, not to give you a swelled head, but I have a son who's a year younger, and I kept saying things like, well, if Justin could be doing this, you could be doing this. And if other kids could be doing this, you could be doing this. And I think after a while, he got a little tired of hearing it. But Justin's a fireman in school, during school. And he's doing multiple sports and participating and volunteering. And just now we were talking about the 6th graders. And he said, yeah, those 6th graders. And I said, how do you know about the 6th graders? Like, you're a senior, you're leaving, you're on your way out. How do you know about anybody else? And he said, oh, I'm mentoring them. And he's got a couple of kids that he's working with and mentoring. The dedication and the devotion and the time that he spends giving back is so noteworthy. And when he started talking to me about his military aspirations and wanting to serve, and I just kept saying, is this like really what you want to do? And he said, well, I want to work in this field, but I really want to serve, and I want to help people, and I want to do and everything was helping people. And I kept saying, and what did your parents do? And how did they get you like this? How? So, Mr. and Mrs. Conacher, I give you all the credit in the world, because you've obviously done so much with him and for him, but he has gone above and beyond between a dedication to academics and a dedication to fellow classmates, and even just being kind to teachers. And Justin and his classmates taught me about many things I had no idea about. They told me, you know, all about the Liver King. And I learned more about the Liver King than I ever had a desire to know. And several of them are laughing because they know. So he's a very interesting man. If anyone is bored, take a few minutes, look him up. Don't let your children watch his videos. They will go tell their teachers about it, to the point that we say, maybe you all should limit your social media a little bit more. But yet, they all still phenomenal in academics and phenomenal in all the other things they were doing. So I guess the Liver King didn't really hurt them. So I was asked to be the keynote speaker for the National Honor Society. And of course I got very choked up there. And I said I wouldn't do it again. But I talked about these kids really giving some hope for the future in a time when the political climate's a little shaky and the educational climate's a little shaky. But you talk to these kids and you really feel like they're doing what I said and they're carrying a light for the future. And Justin's light shines so brightly that I know he will do amazing things. So he's going off to Albany, and he will be a member of their ROTC. And he's going to dedicate himself to this and really serve everyone. And I'm so proud of him. Congratulations.
Good evening. Attending Ellenville these past 13 years has not only been an honor, but a privilege. As my 8th grade social studies teacher, Mr. Guinea, always said, Ellenville School is like a mini New York City. We have many students with various ethnicities who just make this an amazing environment to attend school daily. The diversity of Ellenville is like no other school around us, and I'm so grateful to have experienced this during my time here. It has truly given me a better understanding of what the world outside of this small town is like. I would like to thank all the members of the union. You show up every day to make school a safe place to learn and grow. You have taught me to read, write, and do math in elementary school, pushed me to think and work outside my comfort zone in middle and high school, been an ear to listen and a giver of wise advice. You have been the coaches cheering me on and making me see the importance of hard work, the friendly face in the office when I needed help, and the people who make sure we get to games and home safely. It is an honor to be chosen for this award by individuals who give so much of themselves every day. I would like to thank my family, especially my mother. My family has generously helped me to prepare for what to expect in life after high school. I am very appreciative of everything my mom has helped me with over the years. She was always the one to go to when I needed a proofreader for essays, help filling out college applications, or brutally honest advice. To my mom, dad, and brother Jonathan, thank you for always being there for me. I met Mrs. Russo on my first day of sophomore year. I was sitting in my bedroom, logged into a Google Meet. We all know how hard and impersonal online learning felt. Mrs. Russo always asked us, as she just said before, please turn on your camera, folks, because she was not only trying to teach us, but to connect with us. Upon returning to school in January, there was only one other person in our 5th period cohort. Mrs. Russo worked vigorously to make sure we learned as much as possible, even if it was over a computer. If teaching online was stressful for her, we never knew it. She did everything she could to make things as normal as possible in a very abnormal time. I was fortunate to have her again as my 11th grade English teacher and got to benefit from her teaching and hard work in person. While I'm thankful for all she taught me, I'm also thankful for her sharing her homemade barbecue chicken pizza and many laughs during class. Thank you, Mrs. Russo, for expanding my English skills, challenging me over the 2 years you were my teacher, reminding us to find something to laugh about every day, and being a role model for working hard through difficult circumstances. Thank you.
For our next speaker, I'd like to invite up Joseph Martelli.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to be speaking tonight on behalf of Maya Espinosa as she receives the ETSRPA scholarship. When Maya asked me to speak for her, of course I was honored. In 2016, I was lucky enough to be Maya's 6th grade teacher. However, standing before you tonight, when Maya first found out that I was going to be her teacher, I don't think she considered herself to be that lucky. I was going to be Maya's first ever male teacher, and I heard she was less than pleased about this. Listening to the story from her mom the summer prior to 6th grade, Maya complained, begged, and complained some more to be taken out of my class and to have another teacher. Thankfully, her parents talked her into staying, or Maya and I wouldn't have built the amazing relationship we have today. Maya, I know this part of my speech was predictable, but I bet you never anticipated back then that I'd be the one up here speaking for you tonight. When I think back to that 6th grade year, I can remember some of the looks on Maya's face as she was getting to know me and the expectations of my classroom. As all of us in this room know, Maya is an amazing actress with a flair for drama and the facial expressions that match. That September, she was not acting. There were definitely times early on that she looked extremely unhappy to be there. We pushed through together and can still laugh about it, as she later confessed that I was definitely not her favorite to start out with. While Maya's facial expressions were telling one story, I was learning a different one, the story of who Maya was. Her class that year had to be one of the absolute best classes I've ever had the opportunity to teach, and Maya definitely stood out. Her character, maturity, and amazing personality quickly emerged. As she felt more comfortable, I was able to see her humorous side as well. Maya was a top-notch student who went above and beyond in the classroom, both with an excellent work ethic and her strong convictions. When she had something to say, she definitely said it. By mid-year, I did not have to guess what Maya was thinking. I knew then exactly what we all know now. Maya was destined to do big things. At the end of the school year, I remember her asking to sing for the class with Max Dickman, and that's when I got a chance to witness the incredible talent that she would bring to all of Ellenville's productions. Her singing voice in 6th grade gave me chills. I look forward to seeing her on the big screen or stage one day doing the same. After 6th grade, Maya would stop and visit me as a 7th grader. I remember her sitting on the heater telling me about 7th grade, laughing, joking, and complaining about what she didn't like. Does everyone see her pattern here? We'd talk about her favorite teachers, her least favorite classes, friends, middle school drama, overcoming obstacles, and pushing through things that were tough. Our 8th grade talks were very much similar. Although she'd sometimes shake her head at me, the consistent visits and talks made me realize that she was listening. She made it a point during each visit to tell my new students that no matter how good they were or what they did, that she would always be my favorite student. As middle school ended and high school started, I saw Maya when she would sneak down to the middle school with some friends to again sit on the heater and chat with me. These talks always made me laugh, and I looked forward to the occasional visits. Knowing that her visits always had a purpose and would require a little bit of Martelli advice always made me happy too. When the COVID pandemic hit, we lost touch for a bit, as we all know how much education changed. I would still check on Maya through conversations with her mom. When school returned to normal, 6th grade was moved to the elementary school, and Maya emailed me to tell me that although she would love to visit, she would not come to, and I quote, "the building with the little germ-infected children." We communicated through email until she braved the elementary 3 times this year to see me. Thank you for those visits. Many of our other conversations took place through email this year. If any of you are ever lucky enough to open an email from Maya, just know that her voice stands out in email as much as it does in person. You might have to decipher an emoji or 2 or 10. Maya, your emails always made me laugh, smile, and occasionally shake my head too. See, it works both ways. Maya's excellent academic attitude is combined with a willingness and eagerness to grow in all areas outside of the classroom as well. With an outgoing personality and charismatic nature, she thrives in whatever she sets her mind to. Her positivity and willing attitude have allowed her to excel as a member of numerous activities in the Ellenville school community, including being president of her junior and senior class, participating in Drama Club, National Honor Society, Spanish Honor Society, Chamber Singers, and the Puerto Rican Hispanic Youth Leadership Institution. She has performed in the shows that Ellenville has put on, as well as at the Shadowland Theater. Maya has taken acting classes with the Broadway Arts Collective and Shadowland Acting Academy. She was also signed with DDO Artists Academy for acting. Maya was recently named a 2023 Outstanding Student Delegate by the Puerto Rican Hispanic Youth Leadership Institute. And I know you think everybody knows that because they put the worst possible picture of you up on the school website, right? She will be participating in a trip to Washington, D.C. this June, where she will tour the nation's capital and speak with members of Congress to discuss issues important to our youth. I am sure she will have a lot to say. This fall, Maya will be attending the State University of New York at New Paltz and studying theater and international relations. Maya, it is with great pride that I stand here before you tonight in this room filled with family, friends, and educators to tell you how proud of you I am, and again how honored I feel that you asked me to speak for you. I know you will go far in life and do great things. You have a personality like no other, and I will always fondly remember you and look forward to seeing all of the places you will go and the things you will accomplish. Your impact me on as an educator is one I will never forget. I wish you the best of luck in your upcoming journeys, and please know that I'm always rooting for you. Finally, I will leave you with a quote from actress Kristen Chenoweth that I hope you embrace as you find your place and career path. If you can see yourself doing anything else and being happy, by all means, go and do it. But if you cannot see yourself doing anything else, then you should go for it and not let anyone tell you no. Best of luck, Maya. Congratulations.
Okay, but I told him not to make it good, because how am I supposed to follow that? Okay. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for the opportunity to be here tonight. It is an honor and a privilege I cannot be more grateful for. As Mr. Martelli addressed, I was not happy to have a male teacher for my first year of middle school. Okay, guys. To this day, he will not let me live it down, but in my defense, I was a newly 12-year-old girl. To me, having a male teacher meant the end of the world to ever have a girl problem. If you know, you know. I may have been a bit overdramatic, but I digress. The first day of class, I remember sitting in my seat and listening to Martelli's spiel about eye contact and give me 5 and thinking, I am never going to forgive my parents for not putting me in Miss D's class. In all seriousness, I had no valid reason to dislike Mr. Martelli other than the fact that I wanted Miss D as a teacher. I mean, her and my dad were prom king and queen. Like, she was so cool to me. She still is. I love you, Miss D. But, having survived 6th grade, I can now say that I'm truly grateful to have been placed in Mr. Martelli's class. Whether it be God, the universe, or otherwise, I believe being led to Mr. Martelli's classroom was a work of divine intervention. As a young girl, I was so terrified of the world around me. I struggled significantly with anxiety, if you could not already tell. And that anxiety severely affected my ability to do everyday tasks, like go to school or eat lunch. Despite my previous reservations, I can confidently say that Mr. Martelli became my favorite teacher within the first 2 weeks of being in his class, although I may have waited a little bit longer than that to show it. As we all know, middle school is hard, and learning to navigate it as an incredibly anxious and sheltered 12-year-old was not easy. But Mr. Martelli's warm and supportive nature created a safe space for me that I utilized up until he moved to the elementary. Mr. Martelli is one of the only teachers I have ever met that I genuinely believe cares about me, my success, and my mental health. I doubt he realizes it, but simply taking time out of his day to talk to a student, even if it's totally unrelated to the problem that they may face, changes their life. In my case, striking up conversation with Martelli for as little as 5 minutes was enough to ease any anxiety I may have felt, and made getting through the day less of a challenge. Even after leaving his classroom, I continued to return, not because I needed a valid excuse to skip class and be a juvenile delinquent, but because his classroom was the only place in the entire school I truly felt safe in, dare I even say happy. I'll share a story and then wrap this up. My freshman year was probably the worst year of my life so far, and this was pre-pandemic too. My freshman year, my anxiety was through the roof, and going to school every day was a literal nightmare, especially pep rally days. There wasn't a school event I hated more than pep rallies, and I did everything in my power to avoid them, but this particular pep rally slipped my mind. Obviously, having the entire school packed into one gym like a sardine can and having no freedom to go anywhere else sent me into a full-blown panic attack. So I did the only thing I could think of. I snuck out to Mr. Martelli's room. I told whoever was at the door that I'd be in the bathroom, but I knew for a fact I was not coming back. I texted my parents to let them know where I was and made my way down to his room, which was arguably just as hectic with his new class of excited 12-year-olds. The thing I love about him is that I never had to explain myself. Most teachers would have automatically assumed the worst of me and considered my actions as disrespect or defiance. But without even saying a word, Martelli welcomed me into his classroom and only speaks to ask if my parents knew I was okay. 3 seconds later, I was fine. I will never forget the kindness he has shown me, and I will always admire the passion he has for his job and his students. Mr. Martelli, thank you for everything. Although I said the opposite at first, I am truly so grateful to have you in my life as a teacher, mentor, and on June 23rd, a Facebook friend. Thank you.
So I think we will do one more before breaking for dinner. I would like to invite up Patrick Deschamps.
Hey everybody, good night. That's about it, that's my speech. No, I'm just kidding. So Landon, he emailed me once he found out he got the scholarship and asked if I could speak to him. And my first response was, oh, you still go here? I think like most of us, Landon has just been an amazing student through the elementary years, middle school years, high school years, but then he left us prematurely to go off to the bridge program at SUNY Ulster, where of course he's succeeding. So it was nice to hear back from Landon about that. But before I talk more about Landon, I just want to give a quick shout out to some of the other winners here today. So Paige, Heather, Antonella, so you persevered through physics last year, and I'm proud of you. Justin, you're persevering through physics this year. Maya, you're one of my wonderful students in 9th grade, but we won't talk about 9th grade. Shahid, I never had you, but you were in my room, I think more than your sister was. So congratulations on this also. Now, Annabelle and Joseph, I'm sorry, we never had time in class together, but I got to know you both a little after school in the extended day program, so congratulations. All right, so now, time to talk about Landon. I didn't know what to say about Landon at first because, as a lot of the students here know, Landon can be quiet in a big group setting. So I had to kind of sniff out some information. So I spoke to some elementary teachers, some of the what I would call middle school teachers, and then I was corrected and had to say junior high teachers. So I didn't want to get reprimanded for that. And so Landon was consistently spoken of as quiet, but also very confident and very curious. And that's what I found in physics last year. He would sit back and take in the information, whatever we were doing, and then just come in with a deeper question. And I always loved that about Landon in our class, because he wasn't just trying to get through what we were trying to teach, he was actually trying to understand why we were giving this information out to everybody. So as an educator, I think like we just kind of latch on to that when we see students doing that. So the quote that comes to mind with Landon is "Still waters run deep," and that applies perfectly for Landon. So he's going to go on to do great things with that attitude. So I could just say, stay curious, Landon. It'll take you far. So going back to physics class last year, I also talked to some of his classmates. So that was a little more fun. So Landon would sit in the back of our classroom. He had that big lab table all to himself. And occasionally the hand would just go up for a little clarification. But what I loved about that is how the rest of the class would kind of gravitate towards Landon, because they were always trying to get him to explain it. So apparently he was a better physics teacher last year than I was. I see some nods of approval right over here. One of my favorite things about Landon is that he reminded me last year that I actually did teach physics. So we could see some of the results at the end of the year. People, they're already on summer mode, usually by the time the physics regents comes along. And Landon just knocked that exam out of the ballpark. So I was able to sit back the day before graduation when those results came in, and I was like, okay, I taught what I was supposed to teach. So Landon, I'm never gonna forget that when I see your test grades there. And I keep them all in a file, so I'll never forget what everybody scored. I'm not staring at anyone in particular. I also talked to a couple of his coaches. So you might not all know that Landon was a distance runner. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to do this spring semester, but all through, even this year with his bridge program at SUNY Ulster, he came in and did a winter track. And that just goes in with the perseverance that I saw in the classroom. So it's a special breed of person that goes for those long distance events. So he has the dedication where it's not always fun, but he has that goal in mind and he sets himself to it. There would actually be some afternoons after school the last couple years as I got to know Landon, where I'd be over by the Little League fields with my children, getting them ready for their sports, and then I'd see the cross-country team or the long-distance track. Suddenly they're coming out of the rail trail or down the road, and I was like, I would never do that. But then my second thought was like, good for him, that's probably better. So Landon is making his way to Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute this fall, which it is an esteemed engineering program. And so I know he's going to do very well there. We have had some of our other Ellenville graduates and scholarship winners that have gone on to RPI, and now they have amazing careers. And I know, Landon, you're just going to join the ranks of other Ellenville graduates that have gone on to do great things. So congratulations, and we hope this award helps you on your way. Thank you.
Good evening to all my peers, their families, and esteemed faculty members in attendance. I stand before you grateful for all the memories I've made and all the lessons I've learned as part of the Ellenville community. These experiences will stick with me forever. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the Ellenville Teachers and School-Related Professionals Association for believing in me and investing in my future. I'll be attending Rensselaer Polytechnic in the fall as a mechanical engineering major. The ETSRPA scholarship will alleviate some of the financial burden that comes with pursuing a higher education and will allow me to focus more on my personal goals and growth as a person. I would also like to express my gratitude to my physics teacher, Mr. Gishan. Before taking his class as a junior, I didn't know what I wanted to do in the future. When I learned more about physics, I started to develop a deeper interest in science and math. Mr. Gishan kept the class both interesting and fun. I ultimately decided to pursue engineering after school, and this is in large part due to taking physics. Additionally, I'd like to thank a few others who have helped me along my journey. My mother, father, and grandparents who have all been very supportive. My academic advisor, Ms. Allen, who's helped me guide me along my path to graduation. And lastly, I would like to thank Mr. Allhouse, Mr. McIntyre, and Mr. Martelli. I learned a lot from these teachers in school. and I know the lessons I've learned from them will stick with me throughout my life. I understand this scholarship brings with it a responsibility to honor the faith the committee has placed in me. I'll make the most of this opportunity and will work my hardest to excel academically. I'm committed to utilizing the knowledge and skills I acquire at RPI to contribute meaningfully to my field of study and have a positive impact on society. Thank you.
For our next speaker, welcome Ms. Rowan Coons, or Miss Rowan.
Hi. So I consider myself so incredibly lucky to have known Shahid Khan for over 12 years. Some of my earliest memories of him revolve around the elementary art club. I cannot fully express how fun the dynamic of this group was. They were engaged, silly, and so supportive of each other. I have fond memories of taking breaks with them during our Saturday meetups to skate in only our socks down dark and empty hallways, or how everyone would freak out about the possessed elevator that would randomly open its doors and move levels all on its own. The memory I hold most clearly, though, and that still fills my heart, is of Shahid hunched over his stop animation set, one of our more involved projects. He was pouring everything into it. He was focused and determined, paying attention to every little detail. All of this while still giggling with his friends, applauding when his peers found successes of their own, and continuously exploding with new ideas. He had this amazingly infectious embrace of life and of the moments we were all sharing. That moment was 7 years ago. Well, we were debating this 7 or 8 years ago. Now as Shahid finishes his last year here, I'm lucky to again be spending time with him in the high school ceramics studio. In addition to our official class time, Shahid often comes to visit, work, and pester. Before school starts, during his study halls, after school, during art club, he is a constant in the studio. This seems a rare circumstance for any teacher to experience, a gift really. When we get to follow our students as they grow from their youthful explorations to being almost a full-blown adult. Shahid is the type of individual who remains concerned for others before himself. Even when we are joking and bantering during class, he does quick check-ins to make sure he hasn't been disrespectful or somehow disappointed me. Or if he believes he has offended anyone, he works tirelessly to repair and make amends. While these actions are undeniably healthy, and it's good to have a little bit of self-doubt on occasion, there are times when I wonder if Shahid sees himself as the same person that I have come to admire. And so, Shahid, before you graduate, and for what it's worth, here are some of my observations of the young men I see before me, and the impressions I believe you leave on those around you. Your humor is still very much present. That is a rarity, so please don't you dare ever lose that. And you have brought to the studio a refreshing goofiness, one that embraces and welcomes anyone who enters that shared space. Even if that has meant the occasional clay spot on the wall, it has been all worth it, and no, you won't hear me admit that again. Okay. Your dedication to your education and to your craft has only matured and grown. Everything you set your mind to, you do beautifully and with care. I'm not saying that this hasn't taken hard work or that it's easy, but rather it's because you do work so hard. It also means that I honestly believe that you can do anything you choose to do, and to do it well. What I am most proud to witness, however, is how thoughtful and caring you have grown to be. You think deeply about what it means to be a good person in this crazy world, and then you act on those ideals. I am forever grateful for the many long, complex conversations we have had, conversations that I am honored you felt you could trust me with. Being human is messy, and yet you humbly navigate that mess with grace and compassion. I believe your true core strength is that you lead with your heart keeping it open to all of those around you, while thinking through issues with a genuine sense of curiosity rather than judgment. I hope that as you move beyond high school, and when things feel intimidating or overwhelming, that you remember you have this. You have the being a good human thing down. And that really is everything. What comes next is just to continue to embrace life and the moments you share with others. And thank you, Shahid, for inspiring me to try and do the same. And just in case I haven't made myself clear from all of that, I am so incredibly proud of you. Thanks.
Hello. I just want to make it clear that I thought she would cry while reading that, and she didn't cry, so I think I lost the bet. Good evening. So first, I would like to thank you all for having me. It's an honor to be here right now. I would like to give a special thanks to the ETSRPA, had to recite that 5 times, for setting this whole event up and providing me with the opportunity to speak to you all. A good teacher can teach a student well, but a great teacher can change a student's life. It may sound corny, but it's true. There's one teacher in particular that I have in mind when I think this, but before I mention them, I should define what makes any teacher considered great. All teachers have one obligation, to educate their students. However, some teachers go beyond this and connect with them. Expressing patience, empathy, and demonstrating genuine interest for the well-being of the students comes naturally to them. They manage time out of their packed day to support students effortlessly. They transform their classroom from a simple room into a building. They transform the classroom from a simple room in a building into an uplifting and comfortable environment for all. This allows students to thrive in their own self-development while establishing a sincere connection with the teacher. It's qualities like this that allows any teacher to be considered great. With that being said, I would like to talk about a specific teacher that I consider to be great. When I first met this teacher in 4th grade, she had welcomed me to art club with open arms and a big smile, which is an appropriate greeting for a student to receive in elementary school. But after not seeing her for 7 or 8 years, we still haven't decided that. I attended her art club as a high schooler, or as a junior to be specific, and she greeted me the same way she did all those years ago. That's when I realized that she's not just an ordinary teacher. This teacher has supported me more times than I can count, which is saying something because I'm not typically open to my problems as much of a jokester I am. When something went wrong, I would endure the 1 million step journey to her room, and her room is way too far from my classes. Picking garage was not a great idea. Where she would see me and instantly know that something was up. She has been my shoulder to cry on and the helping hand to pull me up when I was on my lowest. Although she is enduring her toughest job, being a new mother to the adorable Juniper, she still spares energy to comfort me, treating me like her own child. I am only one of many students that this special teacher has guided. She has an incredible gift to create a sincere bond between any student, using it to support everyone she can. I cannot thank this teacher enough for everything she has done for me. She is a mother to all of her students and has a true heart of gold. Thank you, Ms. Rowland.
Our next speaker is Ryan McIntyre.
All right.
Just a handsome looking room. All right. The light doesn't work? Public schools. All right, so faculty, family, friends, it is my privilege tonight to speak for Heather Reed. Heather is definitely expecting me to bring up something embarrassing, say something outlandish, but honestly, I've done that enough over the last 4 years. And if you want to see it, she gave me a list of everything that I've said in her presence as a gift. So, going forward though, the social studies teacher in me wants you to know that there's 3 things that you need to know about Heather. All of it will help make sense of the speech later on. Number 1, she has a fascination with the Ottoman Empire, communism, and with the 20th century Soviet dictator, Joseph Stalin. So for those of you who don't know, I met Heather in 2019 when she entered my 9th grade pre-advanced placement Global History 1 class. Ooh. It was the course's inaugural year, and I was pretty nervous about how I was going to introduce a group of 9th graders to the advanced skills necessary to succeed in the college class. Luckily, that class made it pretty easy on me. It was filled with some of the best and the brightest students I've ever had the pleasure of working for and with at Ellenville, many of which are here being honored tonight. Heather stood out in that class as a student with a strong voice, both in her written work and in our class discussions. However, it was her sarcasm, her blunt honesty, and genuine interest in history that really solidified our relationship. As we got to know each other, she somehow saw in my prickly, stern-faced exterior that I was someone that she could confide in. We spent a lot of time together at school, talking about history, life, working through issues, and navigating mental health. And I genuinely feel these moments were the closest that I've ever come to being a parent, which made it both incredibly special and terrifying at the same time. But we made it through. And I say we because in discussing Heather's mental health, I discovered that I had long neglected my own, especially in the times of the pandemic. Working with her and being afraid of giving bad advice challenged me to examine my own mental health, completely unbeknownst to her, while we brainstormed and practiced ways to get rid of anxiety, how to come out of panic attacks, and how to stay positive when everything seemed negative. She helped me through what was, outside of school, one of the darkest periods of my life. Working with her gave me clarity, purpose, and helped put what I needed at that moment into perspective. It very likely helped save my life. So thank you very much, Heather. I'm sad that we have to part ways, at least on a daily basis. But I'm also excited for your future. Don't fear it. Think of yourself as Mehmet II, right? The 15th century Ottoman Sultan, standing on the hills outside of Constantinople, looking at those infamous walls, which had never been breached, about to start his own attack. And he was known to say that day, either I conquer Istanbul or Istanbul conquers me. We all have our Istanbuls, but for you, life outside of Ellenville High School is yours to conquer now. Take it by the horns, wrestle it to the ground, and along the way, don't forget what Stalin said. History shows us that there are no invincible armies, and likewise, there are no invincible people. Things will get tough, but you have the tools to overcome those challenges. Karl Marx, if he was alive, would have wanted you to know that you are entering a society which is not defined by the actions of individuals, but by the sum of its interrelations. Remember that you always have people like me in your corner. We're just a phone call away. So in conclusion, I am proud of the remarkable person you've grown into. You're a survivor, a unique brand, and a genuine soul. So as I reminded you, and most of my students nearly every day that I've known you and them, you go forth, you do good things, you make good decisions, and you don't forget to have fun along the way, all right? Thank you.
Good evening. Before I start my speech, I would like to personally thank all the staff here at the Ellenville Central School District for all of the help and support that I have received during my years here, and the ETSRPA for providing this generous scholarship. I would also like to thank the one and only Mr. McIntyre for speaking on my behalf tonight. You see, over my years here at Ellenville, I've come to notice how amazing the staff members here are. When you're younger, sometimes it's hard to realize and appreciate the help you receive. Sometimes you might even take it for granted. During my freshman year, things started to get really bad for me, and they slowly got worse. My mental health was steadily declining, and I felt trapped. I was beyond convinced that I was all alone and that there was no one there for me. But I couldn't be more wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong about anything in my entire life. It took me so long to realize that my teacher, Mr. McIntyre, had noticed all along. And it occurred to me that I was never alone in my battle with depression, and he was right there with me. He took the time to genuinely reach out to me and let me know that I was in fact not alone. When I was at my lowest point, he walked me down to the Student Support Center and connected me with the people to get me the help that I needed. I was petrified of reaching out for help, but he taught me that it's okay to ask for help, and it's not something that you should be ashamed or embarrassed about. I am genuinely grateful for him helping me when I was going through such a dark period of time. And I fully believe that if I had not gotten help then I would not be here tonight giving this speech to all of you. Not only did he kind of save my life, he's also been one of my biggest role models and supporters during these last 4 years. He's one of the first people I tell all of my good and bad news to. In fact, he was one of the first people I told when I got into my first choice college. I remember I was so excited. I left my third period class, as usual, and I practically ran down the hallway. I was just so excited to tell him. I'm really gonna miss our everyday banter about the most random things, like how true communism has never been achieved in practice, or talking about the Ottoman Empire and how crazy it was when they dragged their ships across miles of land just to get the upper hand on the Byzantine Empire. And they certainly did. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned here in Ellenville isn't something that's academic related, but it's something that I'll take with me for the rest of my life. I learned that there is always someone there for you, whether you notice it or not. It's funny, the times we feel most alone, we never actually are. We just have to look around and find someone. There's always someone who has your back, regardless if you see them or not. Thank you.
Next up, Lori Warden.
Good evening. I am honored to be here this evening with members of the class of 2023. This particular class is, I don't know what it is, if it's I got closer with them through COVID, doing the one-on-one lessons, or what it is, but this class is just particularly special to me, and I'm honored to be able to be here tonight and to speak on Antonella's behalf. Not much one to procrastinate, but I procrastinated a whole lot with the speech. In fact, I didn't really finish it until last night, and I think it's just because I feel like this is like it. We're coming to a close here, and this is the closure, and I am not ready. But I will do my best, Antonella. I first met Antonella when she came to band in 9th grade. She seemed to be a promising student, a little bit quiet, but blunt. And I say this because I clearly remember one of the first remarks that she ever made to me. And I had a bunch of kids kind of to the side, and I had freshmen that were dropping like flies. They were like dropping out of band. They thought the music was too hard. You know, it's a new building. It's always tough when the kids come into freshman year. And Antonella's like, if they don't want to be here, we don't need them. and that was, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I liked that she was so blunt, because anyone that knows me knows that I have those slips of the tongue as well. But I didn't really agree with you at that time. Okay, so I have Antonella as a freshman. October rolled around, and we began working on the all-county audition music. Antonella picked up the clarinet solo for that year, and she learned it faster and better than any clarinet kid I had ever had and all the years prior in Ellenville. Like, she had it in like no time. I thought it was unbelievable. And of course, she made all-county. Unfortunately, that spring all-county was 2020, and it never happened. But once we got back to school and we were in person, full swing, I asked Antonella to help me out and learn the tenor saxophone. I really needed some saxophone players in the jazz ensemble. And so she did it. And she did it, and if you've been to any of her concerts, you've heard her play solos. She did it, and she did it well, did it amazingly. I continued to work with Antonella, and she blossomed as a musician despite all those year and a half of remote instruction. And you know, for so long, she went on to perform with the area All-State band for 2 years, the Zone 9. That's a huge accomplishment, especially for anyone from our school. We start a whole year later in band than other districts, and I mean, we're competing with huge schools like Walk Hill and Kingston and Rondout Valley with these huge music programs. But she ran with them, and she made that ensemble 2 years in a row. And then after performing in those, then she got to do our local all-county just this year. So, and she represented our school so well. She's done just amazing in band and in jazz band. She, I think, is maybe the second person ever to win both the Louis Armstrong Jazz Award and the John Philip Sousa Award all in 1 year. She was able to do that. And then, so last year, you know, we're doing all these music things, all these wonderful music things. So I asked Antonella last year, sat her down, I said, so what are you planning for college? And she says to me, I'm thinking maybe she's going to choose music. You know, we need to kind of move the path. And I was quite surprised when she says, yeah, I'm going to be an art major. I said, say what? I said, you're not taking any art classes. And she's finally taking her first art class this year. Yes, yes. Long story though, short, Ms. Rowan's like, you really should see her work. So I've been down in Ms. Rowan's room to see Antonella's artwork, and it is every bit as amazing as her musicianship skills. It's so incredible. So I started joking that she's made these mice with these delicate flowers. They're just so gorgeous, and there's this teapot. So I keep saying I'm gonna, well, Ms. Rowan says she's just gonna keep them or something. And I said, well, I have a key to her room. So, and I'm at school a lot of late nights, so I'm thinking I could sneak into the art room and maybe just, you know, own one of these items. But then Ms. Rowan said that she's gonna hide them. She thinks she's gonna hide them. But I just want to tell you that your room isn't that big, and I'm there really long hours. And I also want to mention that there's an art show coming up, and I think I could strategically plan a heist. So, you might want to be on the lookout. So anyway, as Antonella's all these art skills, and she's blossoming into this beautiful musician, she's also just blossoming as an incredible student all the way around. It doesn't matter what class you look at. Outside of the arts, she is just as gifted in the classroom. She's ranked second in the class. She has so many great characteristics. She's so intelligent. She has a great work ethic, great leadership skills. I love the honesty. That's like one of my favorite. And anybody, I love honesty. Even if stuff I don't want to hear, I love the honesty. She's reliable, so easy to work with, so much fun. And I am just so proud of you. I know Antonella will be missed around here as she moves on to greater things and experiences. And I know that I'm going to be missing her in band and jazz band. But mostly I'll be missing definitely your practicing during lunch periods and just those conversations every day and all the laughter, the little chats and laughter. I wish you the very best, Antonella, a fulfilled life loaded with happiness and love. Best wishes to you.
Good evening, students, teachers, and relatives. I'd like to begin by thanking the ETSRPA Union for awarding me with the scholarship. The union's generous contributions will assist myself and other students in advancing their education. I also want to thank the guests and the audience who have supported us throughout our high school career. I believe the students who have been given the honor of attending this event know best the importance of having a supportive and encouraging role model who they can trust. For me, that person is Ms. Warden. I find her to be someone who is not only extremely skilled in her career, but also displays a passion and genuine love for teaching. When given the opportunity to choose a representative for this award, I thought of none other than Ms. Warden due to her commitment, kindness, and impact on my life. I first met Ms. Warden at the beginning of my freshman year. My younger 14-year self was vastly different than who I am today. I was quiet, I did my work, but I largely kept to myself, and that was the kind of person I had been for practically my whole life. I had left middle school with little impression from other teachers, and I had planned for high school to go the same way. I have never been so glad to be proven wrong. Ms. Warden's passion and ability to connect with students was a major factor in fostering my love for music. I found myself wanting to practice whenever I could, even just for fun, because of the nurturing environment she created in her classroom. Miss Warden's dedication to her students has in turn led me to be dedicated and passionate about performing. I remember during the end of my junior year, I attended NYSSMA for an incredibly stressful all-state audition. I left the audition room so distraught over all the mistakes I had made in my solo. I couldn't hold back the tears as I made my way back to Miss Warden. Although it wasn't my best performance, she told me she was still proud of me and my efforts no matter the outcome. In that moment, I felt so grateful to have someone in my life acknowledge the work I put in and still be so supportive despite my frustration and failure. It was through her positive attitude that I was able to attend incredible events such as All-County and Area All-State Band. And her encouragement and praise has even inspired me to continue practicing and performing beyond high school. I mentioned at the start of my speech that I had never expected for any teachers to have such a huge impression on me. I now realize how much of a blessing that is, to have someone in my life so passionate, caring, and dedicated that they are able to impact my life so deeply. Someone who has not only seen me grow musically, but also in terms of character, becoming more outgoing, ambitious, and confident. I'll be leaving Allenville Senior High in June a vastly different person than my 14-year-old self, because I was lucky enough to have a role model as amazing as Miss Warden. Even now, I feel a bit sad at the thought of having to leave such a wonderful teacher so soon. As life goes on, it's likely I won't remember every detail about my time in high school, but I will surely never forget the incredible kindness and support that Miss Warden has shown me. Thank you.
Next, Kimberly Vanchuk.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's such an honor to be here, standing in front of all of you, sharing this special evening, celebrating these amazing and deserving scholarship recipients. Congratulations to each and every one of you. Tonight, I have the privilege of speaking on behalf of Joseph Torres. When I think back to Joseph 6 years ago in the 6th grade, I think of the ultimate gentleman. He was extremely kind, polite, conscientious, gracious. He was caring, compassionate, and I could really go on and on, and on and on and on. Joseph was a student that could always be counted on to do the right thing. No, not because he was afraid he might get into trouble or get caught, but because he was a young man with strong and solid morals. Joseph did the right thing and treated everyone around him with respect, because that is who he was. To back this up even more, the class was assigned to write a definition essay. Yep, got it right here. Reading this essay illuminates the type of individual Joseph was back in the 6th grade, and who I can guarantee he is right now. Joseph wrote, and I quote, "When a person is trustworthy, you are positive that you can say who you have a crush on, and that person won't say anything." He also stated that if a person is trustworthy and saw someone drop $1 on the ground, that person would go back and give it to him. Joseph worked hard to succeed, and although certain subjects, like good old math, did not always come as easy to him as other subjects did, he never gave up. He persevered until he understood. He dedicated himself with an I can do and an I will do attitude, and it paid off. Sometimes that meant working a little extra with me, asking for resources that he could have that would help him at home, but never once did he give up on himself. He realized that there was a bigger picture. To this day, my 17th year of teaching, I have only been invited to one birthday party. Only one. And I went and I had a blast. So thank you, Joseph, for inviting me to be a part of your 12th birthday party. I certainly will never forget it. Sorry if that was embarrassing. Joseph has grown into a young man who is still striving to be the best version of himself. He earned top grades and was inducted into the National Honor Society. He played on the varsity tennis team and plans to continue to play in college as well. Outside of school, he serves as a member of the Ellenville First Aid and Rescue Squad and the Cragsmere Cragsmore Fire Department. It is a priority in Joseph's life that he wants to contribute to the improvement of his community, and he wants to make it a better, more positive place for everyone. Joseph, thank you. Thank you for the volunteer work you do in our community, and know you are doing more than your part to make a difference. As you prepare to open the next chapter in your story, get ready to spread your wings and fly. And I mean fly, like literally. Joseph has been working towards becoming a pilot, and currently he is flying a single-engine Cessna 172 airplane, and he does not plan to stop there. Joseph is heading off to Ulster County Community College, where he also plans to study aviation and/or meteorology. And once he checks that off his list, he's going off to the Air Force Reserve to serve his country as a military pilot, and then further on down the road, he plans to be a commercial pilot for an airline. So amazing. Joseph, I could not be more proud of you. I thought I would leave you with a note I wrote using something you probably remember from 6th grade, a Miss D specialty, candy. Dear Joseph, congratulations. You have worked good and plenty and proved you are no dum-dum or airhead, but a true smarty. As you prepare for college, I want to offer you a few pieces of advice. Don't let opportunity slip between your fingers. 2, work extra hard. 3, if you ever feel in a crunch, reach out for help. 4, be a nerd. It will lead you to a huge payday of whatever brings you happiness. Please know, you can always count on me to be a lifesaver if you ever hit a sour patch. Always be the sweetheart you are. Love, Miss D. Congratulations.
So before I start anything, I first want to thank the teacher union, which allowed us to get these scholarships. Without them, we wouldn't even be here or be as successful as we are in high school now. Now, that was an amazing speech, and I also want to thank my father and mother. Without them, I would not have my morals that I have today. And I'm going to speak about Miss D now. And it first started right after 5th grade. We're moving on to middle school, and we have orientation. And I saw Miss D's name on the schedule we had. And all I could remember is trying to pronounce her name. And all I could pronounce was Chuck. So from that day on, I was so nervous to enter her room. And to be honest, I think I still was after a month. But once she allowed us to call her Miss D, that was the first thing she clarified, I felt so much more comfortable. And that would be one of the best classes I ever had. It is still important to me today. Everything I do now is because of that class. It motivated me. It built humanity out of me. Now I'm much more empathetic to my peers. And without that class, I probably wouldn't be serving as a firefighter or as EMS personnel. And so I want to thank her for that. But it's not only that she did that for me. Her whole class, she helped. As Einstein once said, if you tell a goldfish to climb a tree, it will forever think it is stupid. And the school system sometimes represents that, unfortunately. But she went above and beyond that. She made us realize we're not that goldfish in a bowl. We are so much more than that. Even the people who could not succeed in math, she built, and everyone that I remember in that class went on to 7th grade with me. And she is not just a teacher. She is a mentor. She's a life coach. She's a mother. And even when she talked about her dog, she talked about Apollo as if he were her son. And even when she was going through her worst times of crisis, she was not afraid to hide her emotions. And she showed that to all of us, that it's okay to cry in front of a room full of people. And we all comforted her. And she made us realize that we all have each other's backs. And I will never be afraid to call upon her. As present with this speech, she will pick up within an hour. And if I ever need anything, I know I could rely on her. So thank you, Ms. D, and thank you for everything you've done for her students.
And finally, Christy Wilson.
Good evening, everyone. At the risk of sounding really old, things in our society, the ways in which we treat each other, the way that we communicate on a daily basis has changed for the worse. One major shift that's happened since the pandemic in our society and in our schools is that people seem to have less patience, less grace, and are less willing to connect with others. Simple, kind gestures that we might once have taken for granted have been supplanted by angry emails, in which people seem to struggle even to greet each other. Our reliance on technology has made us so reluctant to reach out and discuss issues that we have in person. In general, people seem less apt to work toward solutions and instead lean into anger, choosing to disconnect from one another. This has become so common and so routine that I'm sure almost everyone in the room can relate. And I realize I'm not talking about anything groundbreaking, but I wanted to start out discussing what we've come to understand as the norm, so that I might draw a distinction between this unfortunate trend and the student I am here to talk about tonight. This lovely, gracious soul is Paige Van Etten. I've had the pleasure of teaching Paige 2 years in a row, first for English 11, and now in a class that studies the HBO series The Wire. Paige knows who she is, and she's demonstrated that every day I've taught her. Paige is as steady as the day is long, quite a feat for a teenager, and can somehow manage to be sweet, funny, and friendly, even when she admits that she's been working on a college English paper late into the night. I've also had the pleasure of having Paige in study hall first period, and I've gotten some pretty detailed stories about what it's like to work at Dunkin' Donuts. Hint, if you have a choice, you want to work at the Ellenville store and not the Pine Bush one. When I started teaching The Wire this year, Paige opted to take that class in addition to college English. This meant an increased workload for her, but should also tell you something about how much she loves writing and learning. Some students who haven't had me as their teacher for English 11 might have thought that taking a class that taught a TV show would be less work than a class that focused on books, but Paige, knowing me, knew exactly what she had signed up for. She was the only one in her graduating class who chose to take on both English classes simultaneously. A few of the characters in The Wire discuss the importance of having what they call soft eyes. Viewers of the series come to realize that if one has soft eyes, she can assess a situation without falling back on assumptions or judgment, and instead, she can see how all those seemingly insignificant details contribute to the whole, to then recognize and appreciate finer points that many others might miss. Having soft eyes might not be something that makes or breaks someone, but when you plan to major in psychology, as Paige does, it could mean the difference between understanding a person or not, so critically important in her case. While Paige's keen understanding of human behavior and motivation strengthens her analysis of literature and film, it more importantly allows her to understand and empathize with people. It's easy for me to say that, but it might be difficult to imagine. So to give you an example of this, I can already see her eyes widening. I'll tell you what she said on a couple of assignments. That's right, Paige. I used Control-C and Control-V. There's this scene in which two characters from an impoverished background, D'Angelo and Donette, go across town to enjoy dinner at an upscale restaurant. This assignment asks students to discuss the unwritten social codes that characters miss. This is what Paige said. By the end of the scene, the dessert is brought out on a cart by Donette's request. D'Angelo goes to serve her the dessert she requested, but the server quickly corrected him by stating that the plate that he picked up was only for show. This misreading, along with others, show that how and where you were brought up affects your ability to detect certain social cues. D'Angelo displays this perfectly, as he was raised in a lower income community, so during this dinner scene, he seems like a fish out of water in this upper class community. Paige finishes this particular analysis by reminding readers that D'Angelo continually tries to change who he is, but at the end of the day, where he was from will always be ingrained in the person he hoped to evolve into. Understanding such nuances is uncanny in teenagers, and even if some of her classmates might have sensed what was happening in this scene, they still might have had difficulty communicating those ideas with the maturity, compassion, and clarity that Paige has. Paige later wrote about another character named Duquan, whose impoverished background and neglectful parents led to social and educational disadvantages for him. This is what she said. Through Duquan, the audience learns how the effects of poverty can be detrimental to a child's emotional and social status. Overall, he's a tortured character in almost every aspect of his life. The effects of poverty have deeply affected him for the rest of his life, and where he goes from here is unclear. For some children, this is a reality. From family members stealing clothes for drugs to limited access to water, studying a character like Duquan opens people's eyes to how others' lives are. As a society, we need to advocate for children suffering from the effects of poverty and drugs. Many of Paige's analyses were so thorough and so astute that I could have used them as the answer keys. Indeed, I plan on writing about the experience of teaching this class and have asked Paige if I could include her responses in my writing. But Paige's insightfulness and dedication to her studies is just one aspect of who she is. Last week, Paige was talking to me about the challenge of being kind to people who are mean. She said something like, "I try, but some people make it so hard." I'm impressed by Paige's ability to rise above high school drama and by her willingness to always be the bigger person. I have my daughter Katie with me here tonight. Many of Paige's attributes or qualities I hope Katie also has at 17. What gifts? I stressed to Katie that yes, working hard in school is important. Yes, reading and writing are critically important. And also, yes, cleaning your room is sometimes a good idea. Sorry, back to you, Paige. But that inability, or that ability and willingness to connect to others, the inclination to simply be kind, to me reveals so much about how hopeful and how sweet Paige is, and something that goes well beyond who she is as a student. This instead is the fabric of who she is. While her extraordinary qualities as a student, including her industriousness and her intelligence, are certainly what helped to earn Paige this scholarship, she is also unfailingly kind, gracious, and mature. And these are the traits that lie in such a juxtaposition to the things we take for granted now and have accepted as normal in our culture. These personality traits will benefit her every day of her life. Her curiosity about and interest in the world will serve her well as she goes on to study psychology at SUNY New Paltz. And Paige, don't forget that analysis you had of D'Angelo. Because at the end of the day, your origins will always be part of the fabric of who you are. And in your case, this is an advantage and a cause for celebration. The upbringing that you had, the family that adores you and knows what a treasure you are, your friend circle, all of those things matter, and the roots created the foundation for the wonderful young woman that you are. I am so proud of you, Paige, and I can't wait to see the impact you make on the world.
You're last. You have to go last.
Firstly, I'd like to thank the ETSRPA, one mouthful, for granting me this opportunity along with everyone that has come out tonight in support of my peers and I. I'd also like to thank all the teachers that have come tonight to speak on our behalfs. While we're on the topic of teachers, Many of our amazing teachers have influenced the person I've become, some of which that are here. They have made me feel supported and they made their classrooms a safe space, not just for me, but for a multitude of their students. Oftentimes, my teachers have taken the time out of their busy schedules to truly listen to me and have helped guide me through the trials and tribulations of high school. However, Ms. Wilson has had the largest impact on who I have become. Even though we're all wearing masks and many of my peers were still contracting COVID-19, she made my first year back from remote learning feel normal. Ms. Wilson has always supported me, and has made her classroom a more comfortable place that I know I will always be welcomed into in times of need. All the wonderful times I have spent in her classroom has led me to the field of psychology. Ms. Wilson's guidance has ultimately helped me find a career path that I am passionate about and can see myself advancing in. While she did guide me to an enjoyable career path, Ms. Wilson also made me question this path. With her outstanding teaching, she made me question whether I should follow in her footsteps and pursue a career in teaching. Although I did go back to my roots and decided to stick to psychology, Ms. Wilson genuinely affected my life and where I will take it. I literally took 2 English classes this year by choice, just to guarantee that I'd have her as a teacher again. I think that in itself says something about the type of person she is and the effect she has on her students. Prior to junior year, I didn't care much for reading or writing, but after having Ms. Wilson, it's something I've come to thoroughly enjoy, and she's expanded my interests and the views I have on life. Overall, Ms. Wilson has inspired me to help others the way she has helped me, simply by listening to what I have to say and allowing me to be my true self around her. And to you, Ms. Wilson, I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
On behalf of the ETSRPA, thank you all for coming out and congratulations, seniors.